Hey guys, so while we don't know when the next ban list will drop, thought I'd still do a prediction survey sooner than later. So we had 267 players respond, so thank you all for filling out the survey, and make sure to follow me on Twitter so that you don't miss out on any future surveys. Now before I continue on with the results, I did want to do a small Dragon Shield sleeve giveaway as they gave me an awesome care package. So big thanks to Dragon Shield, they're definitely my #1 choice for sleeves. As for the giveaway, unfortunately, it will be for those living in Canada and USA only. So sorry guys, and it'll be the usual routine where you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and set your subscription status as public, and just comment your favorite Dragon Shield color along with whatever else you were going to comment on this video, and I'll pick a random winner on Sunday, April 10th. I'll also do a separate giveaway for a random person on my Patreon as well, which, oh by the way, is something I started last week, and you'll be able to access all of the data files that I use to create my videos. Alright, so back to the actual survey. I first wanted to get a sense of the player base that responded as usual, and we do see that the majority, about 88%, were competitive or semi-competitive players. There was a bit of casual players as well, and no non-players, which would have been someone who only collects or is an artist, for example. If we did have any non-players who filled out the survey, I would have excluded them from the results anyways. In terms of their number of years of experience, about a quarter played this game for at least 10 years, with the vast majority playing at least 3 years, so lots of experienced players giving their input on this survey. Okay, so let's get to the actual predictions, starting with the infamous artifact Scythe. We had 80% of respondents predict that it will be banned for the next list. It locks people out of the extra deck, and it's not fun to play against, and while it did just get reprinted in the upcoming Alba structure deck, does not necessarily mean that it still can't be banned. Related to Scythe is Dagda, which is the easiest way to bring out Scythe to your field so that you can pop it on your opponent's turn with something like DPE. Now, the majority of people did not expect this to get banned, even though some think that this card is a problem and not Scythe, although there are other ways of getting access to Scythe outside of Dagda. If Konami ends up not banning Scythe, then hopefully they at least hit Dagda. Next is Verte Anaconda, which has been on the hot seat for a while now. A little over half of the respondents think it will get banned, with fusion spells like Red Eyes Fusion or Fusion Destiny around that can send materials from deck or hand to grave. This card will always be a threat to get banned. Let's see if they actually hit it this time. And then we have DPE, which likely does not warrant a ban itself, and you can see that from the survey results as well. Instead, Konami would have to hit either Anaconda or Fusion Destiny, but I do hope something will get done to reduce the number of decks that's just shitting out DPE left and right. Speaking of Fusion Destiny, about half of the respondents think that this card will become limited, with a small 5% thinking that it will get banned. Now in my opinion, even if Anaconda gets banned, this card would still need to be put to 1, because at 2 then people will still play the DPE package, and not much will change considering that a lot of decks that use DPE rely more on hard opening Fusion Destiny. As long as the card does not get banned, it will also still allow actual hero decks to continue to use the card as well. Then we have Dragoon, which the majority also do not think that it will get banned. While it is set to become much more common with the new Alba's cards coming out, at least the way it's brought out will mean that it won't be able to do multiple pops and burns with that strategy. Still a bit hard to get over, but not a card that's seen as often as DPE. And related to Dragoon is also Red Eyes Fusion, which again does not have as many people predicting that it will get hit in any capacity. Next we have the Wind Barrier statue, which was originally an issue with Tri-Brigade decks that would bring this out through the Simorgh link, but then the Simorgh monster got banned, yet this card can still be an issue because now Fluent Under Ease is the next top tier deck. At the same time, only about 18% predict that it will get banned. And then we have Mystic Mine, which at this point I think I've given up that Konami TCG will ever ban this card. It did lose more of its utility now that the Adventure token is around and Dracoback can just bounce us back. Still, not a healthy card and hope it goes away at some point. Back on the hot seat is Halqifibrax, which for a while was not getting much heat for a ban, but now that the Hulk Despot combo is so prevalent again, perhaps it is time for this card to go and maybe they can bring some tuners back. Don't think limiting the card will do too much. I mean, when the card was first released and Jet Synchron combo was a thing, then it sort of made sense to at least limit it since they could easily do the Hulk combo again the turn after if it got hand trapped the first time, but at this point I think it would only make much of a difference if it got banned. Speaking on the Hulk combo is Auroradon, and we know that Konami does not like token generating monsters. Now if Hulk gets banned, then this card can likely stay free, but maybe Konami will just ban Auroradon instead of Hulk just to get around things and go for the wrist slap approach as they often do. A big portion and 37% think that Auroradon will get banned though. Next we have some Adventure or Brave token cards, which are of course really new, but considering how strong they are and how often they are played, especially in Top Cut, I hope Konami does take some quick action. As you can see with the results, most seem to think that they should at least semi-limit this card because this whole one card engine is insane. Related to right is the Water Enchantress, which is another card that a big chunk of people want semi-limited. I do think that the dream scenario is for these two cards to get both semi-limited on the next list, and eventually I think at least one of the cards will end up getting limited in the future. The other piece of the Brave Engine package is the Dracoback equip spell that bounces something each turn, but the vast majority did not think that this card will be hit in any form. And then we have Dimension Shifter, which has been a problematic card played in Fluanderees since it cripples most of the decks and they won't be able to do anything. Most of the respondents do not think it will get hit, and it probably won't since it is a niche hand trap, although it does suck when it is being used by a top tier deck, rather than from only rogue decks like Remaju. Another card that players brought up on the last survey is Harpie's Feather Storm, which is a card that can be played in Fluanderees and can be devastating since the only way you can stop this is through Red Reboot. As powerful as it can be, about 3/4 did not expect this to get banned. Now let's cover a few cards that are currently semi-limited, starting with Salamangreat Circle, which actually has most people predicting that will go to 3 in the next list. I certainly don't miss the days of 3 Circle and 3 Gazelle, but considering that Salat has not moved up the needle with Circle going to 2 and Mirage Stallion coming back, I think they can get Circle back to 3. Next we have a Hero Lives, which also recently got put to 2, and now most players also think that the card will become unlimited. Heroes can certainly use another extra buff, but from my understanding I think the reason why other players were hesitant on this card coming back was for Isolde turbo plays, which typically involve some FTK decks. I don't know too much about that, but since nothing changed after this card came to 2, maybe it can just come back to 3 now. Lastly, we have Scapegoat, which again, most players think it can come back to 3. A Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime classic card, it can potentially be strong in certain decks, but since the top decks have not played this thing in a while, it'll probably be safe for it to come back. Now, I did have a free text option on the survey for people to put in their predictions for any other cards that may get hit. These were the most common ones. Of course, Magical Meltdown is always mentioned, with most predicting that this will get limited, but it wasn't hit when the deck was actually tier 1, so I doubt it gets hit now when it's not doing much. Another card that was brought up was E-Teleport, which just recently came back to 3, but now people that listed on this survey think that it will go back to 1. And then we have Red Rose Dragon, which has been used in base strategies, with people predicting this card will get banned. And finally, we have Magician's Souls, which is another key card played in base, along with the new card in Illusion of Chaos, with some people predicting that this card will be put to 1. Now let's cover a few cards that are currently banned and what people's predictions are. First is the infamous Max C, and hey, a big chunk in 90% actually think the card will stay banned, and I think that will be the case too. Sorry Sam. Next we have Harp Horror, and each ban list prediction, everyone always says Harp will come back, but it just never does. But I think we can be confident that it will come back again someday, considering that Engage came back to 1, and that was like way more surprising than Harp coming back. More than half predict that it will come back to 1 as well. And then we have Colossus, and for this one, the respondents only chose either still banned or coming back to 1, but that prediction seems quite in favor of staying banned at the moment. And lastly, we have Electrumite. Similar to Colossus, is mostly expected to stay banned. It would be fun to have Electrum back, but for now Triff, you'll just have to stay strong without it. As for the other cards that people were free to bring up that could come back, we had Blaster as the most common one brought up. This is usually the case in most ban list predictions, and maybe it will actually come back. The other two cards were Performapal Monkey Board and Plush Fire, and I wasn't playing around this time when any of these cards were legal, so I can't speak too much on it, but let me know how you think the game would change, if at all, if these guys came back. Lastly, I wanted to ask about players' satisfaction about the current format, and you can see that about 56% were dissatisfied or very dissatisfied about the current format. Scythe Lock isn't fun, and the Brave Engine Everywhere isn't so great either. At the same time, I think players generally complain about every format, so I'm curious to see if these breakdowns ever change with each format, so we'll find out soon with time as I do more surveys. Next, I wanted to see whether players enjoy the current format more than the previous one, so the previous format being between October to February with the last list. About 55% disagreed or strongly disagreed with that, so in other words, they enjoyed the last format more. Again, I think players tend to think that the previous formats were better, so if they are always thinking that, then do we ever enjoy any format? Curious to see how these numbers will look with future surveys as well. And finally, since we no longer know the approximate date of when the next ban list will drop, I thought I'd do a poll on which month the next list will come out. Just over half think it will come in May, and looking at previous Konami's trends, May is probably most likely, and that's my vote as well. I really do wish Konami will go back to at least being a bit transparent with the no sooner date, but I guess they just got way too annoyed with us commenting when's the next ban list Konami anytime they post literally anything on their social media. Alright guys, so that was it for the ban list predictions. Hope you enjoyed that and hope you can take part in the next ban list surveys to come. I also want to thank my newest patrons, Eileen Dice Queen, Bolt Spider, Cybernetic, and Brandon Jaren. I truly do appreciate your support. Again guys, feel free to check out my Patreon in the link below, and maybe you can consider becoming what I call a fellow Databyte. Take care guys.